just my profile, my shadow. You don't need me, you need my shadow. I'll give you one of these. I'm Michael Crossan, and this is the Consumer Reports review of the 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser. So we purchased this 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser with a few options like the Toyota Land Cruiser Premium Package at $4,600 and a $1,395 destination fee, which brought the total price for our Land Cruiser to $69,770. 2021 was the last time you could buy a new Land Cruiser here in America, and they were almost $85,000. So in the 66 years that Toyota has been selling the Land Cruiser here in the States, they've actually done a first. They've made it smaller and less expensive, something that almost never happens within the automotive industry. From an exterior styling standpoint, we're getting a look back at the classics. We've got the nice Toyota spell out in the grille. The base trim, the 1958, actually comes with a retro round headlight design that a lot of us really like the look of. The 1958 trim starts in the mid-$50,000 range, and it's in reference to the first year that the Land Cruiser was available for sale here in the US. In keeping with the times, Toyota is offering only a hybrid power plant. More specifically, they're equipping all Land Cruisers with the iForce Max 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder hybrid engine. They've combined that with an 8-speed automatic transmission, full-time 4-wheel drive, and a locking rear and center differentials for added traction off-road. Not to mention electronically controlled sway bar disconnects for when things get rocky. And speaking of rocky, we've yet to tackle our rock hill, and that's only for the protection of the tires. I'm filming this on a Tuesday, and official testing starts tomorrow on Wednesday. As we conclude the on-track testing, we'll be sure to try some off-roading too. The last generation Land Cruiser looked a little bit more home in parking lots versus out on the trail. Well, I think this one is going to look just right anywhere. Our Land Cruiser has a classic Toyota grille, optional triple beam LED headlamps with LED fog lights that you can actually switch from white to amber. We also optioned the two-tone paint, which gives off FJ Cruiser vibes. We got 20-inch alloy wheels, but they do offer a more sensible 18-inch wheel and tire package as standard. This Land Cruiser sits up really nice and high and tall, and that's great for visibility. But one compromise here is getting into it. A lot of our testers felt it was a big climb up inside. We do have a running board here. A lot of people did like to use it. I like to go over it. However, as you step over it, it is a nice wide step, and it is a bit of a reach. Not necessarily ideal. If it were mine, I'd probably take the running boards off. So now that we're up inside the Land Cruiser, one of the first things our testers noticed was its size and sort of lack of size. It's not super tight in here, but it's what you could call cozy for sure, especially compared to last generation Land Cruiser. So most of our testers found the seats in the Land Cruiser to be comfortable. They're relatively flat. There is some side bolstering. Everybody felt that it was pretty good. Some people wish there was just a little bit more. We have power adjustment. We have two-way power lumbar as well. And what we think is maybe a first for Toyotas is actually an adjustable thigh support here on the front of the seat. It's a really nice feature to have. And for ultimate comfort, these seats are heated and ventilated. So you might think sitting up so tall, there'd be a lack of headroom inside the Land Cruiser, but that's just not the case at all. We've got a ton of room here. It feels very spacious. As far as that goes, it doesn't feel claustrophobic. We've got armrests both on the center console and in the door. The door armrest does sit a little bit lower, and you kind of feel like you're leaning toward the outside of the vehicle just a little bit. Another tester did note that here on the console, there is some stitching that looks great, but it's actually right where their arm, rests. And when they're wearing short sleeves, the stitching is just a little bit uncomfortable against their bare skin. And one thing that we all loved about the interior of the Land Cruiser is the height of our door sill here. It's perfect for some arm out the window cruising. When it comes to controls and screens and infotainment in this vehicle, there's no mistaking it for anything other than a Toyota. It's very similar to the rest of the Toyota lineup. It shares a traditional shifter. I think this came right out of the Tundra. This is something we actually like. A lot of manufacturers get creative on the shifter, and we just like basic, easy to use. You don't even really have to think about it. What's really nice here is on our climate control panel, it's all physical buttons. Everything's labeled very clearly. It's very easy to use, and we have our own dedicated climate control display. It all works really well. There are a lot of controls here on the console, drive modes, and for off-roading. Our drive modes are selected here with a knob on the console. We have a descent control button, electronic parking brake. Diff locks are here, stabilizer bar disconnects are here, along with our 4 high and low switch. Everything is right where you want it to be and easy to reach. So we have a lot of buttons here on the steering wheel, 19 of them in fact, and they control all kinds of things like radio volume. We have different modes. We have our cruise control. But another thing we're going to use these for is anything related to our driver's instrument cluster here. Any of the safety systems and safety controls all have to be navigated with the on steering wheel buttons while you're looking at your instrument cluster here. It's a little bit clunky. It does take a little bit to get used to. Toyota instrument clusters are very busy. They give you a lot of information, but at the same time, they are customizable, so you can kind of dial it in for exactly the information that you're interested in. The center screen here is 12.3 inches, and I think it's a nice size for the vehicle. It is very standard Toyota. If you've been in any Toyota products recently, you'll be very familiar with it. It is touchscreen, so we have control of the screen. Very easy to reach from the driver's seat here. And of course, all of our vehicle options and settings and things like that as well. One really nice feature is the volume knob, that we get a physical volume knob, and they actually put it on a little pedestal here, which I think is thoughtful. It made it just a little bit easier to reach. That way you don't actually have to sit forward in your seat to try to make a stretch for that. Very nice feature. And because this is an off-road vehicle, we do get a couple of extra menu screens here that you would not get in your standard Toyota. Here under off-road information, we have brake and accelerator input. We also have little images of the vehicle here. So when we're off-roading, we can kind of get an idea of the incline and decline that we're facing. The rear seat is very flat and firm. The backrest incline is adjustable, but our testers felt as though they were sliding forward and off the seat cushion unless they had the backrest nearly vertical. We think the rear seat cushion bottom could benefit from a little bit more angle and a little bit more padding. Out back of the Land Cruiser, there's a nice big opening. We have a power tailgate, but one thing that's tricky about accessing the cargo area back here is we have the bumper, we have the threshold, but then we have another step here. And what this actually is a little bit of a cargo box. We lift up the floor here. We got some space to store, whether it's a sunshade or whatever it is, but to be honest, it's all kind of flimsy. I mean, this thing just popped off. It's made out of some really thin plastic. I just question it being here in the threshold as you're loading packages and things in and out. I just don't know if this is going to stand up to the day-to-day usage. And I give Toyota credit here. They're trying to maximize storage space with this high floor. We have another cubby way up front, but the trouble is it's kind of hard to get to. We've got tools on the left side and a small storage compartment on the right. Another option this Land Cruiser has, in the center console here, we have what they call a cool box. And it does take up a lot of room of the center console cubby, about half. And a lot of our testers thought this was neat, but we would have preferred giving this up for the added storage space on the inside. There's a lot of glass in the Land Cruiser, and it offers pretty good visibility combined with this high upright seating position. The hood is very prominent out the front though, and it does encroach just a little bit on what you can see out the front. The pillars are pretty upright, but we have a grab handle here. They are just a little bit thick. Not bad, but there is a little bit of sort of blockage of your view. Same thing on these side mirrors. There's a lot of housing on them and not a whole lot of glass. I think the ratio is off here just a little bit. They're very tall, but they're kind of narrow, and it takes a little bit of adjustment to get them just right. I think they could have done a little better job on the shape on those. The tall glass gives us really nice visibility out the sides. When you're changing lanes and you kind of look over your shoulder, you can see quite a little bit. Just a little blind spot back there. It's not too bad in the rear 3/4. We have a nice sized rear view mirror here, and the back glass is big as well. I can see quite a bit of the roadway behind me as I'm driving here, but we do have a little bit of a party trick with this mirror. If we flip a switch here, it changes from a traditional mirror to actually a display screen because we have a camera out back. It does change your view quite a bit, but where this would really come in handy is if you have a lot of people and stuff in the back, you don't want to have to look over and past and around them. You can flip this and get a really nice view out the back. Toyota has decided to do a hybrid power plant in all models of the Land Cruiser. But one thing that is really nice about that is we can actually get a little bit of essentially EV operation at very low speeds in parking lots. You can ride around silently. The gas motor is off, you're not using any fuel, not creating any kind of emissions, and super quiet. But like all Toyotas, as soon as you get in the power, the gas motor kicks in, and it's going to make a little noise, a little bit of vibration, but we've got power, and off we go. The EPA says it gets 22 miles per gallon in the city and 25 miles per gallon on the highway. And of course, we are going to test that when we do our own fuel economy test. Toyota is usually great about providing a lot of safety features, both standard and as optional equipment in all of their vehicles. This particular one has blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, and the Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 system. It's basically a system that uses a host of sensors to help drivers avoid collisions, which includes forward collision warning and automatic emergency braking. This Land Cruiser has a few extra options like head-up display, which a lot of people seem to really like. We also have lane change assist, front cross traffic alert, and traffic jam assist that does require a 1-year subscription after the initial trial. Land Cruisers were always a mix of rugged off-roadiness and a big machine that could go out and pound the pavement. Despite our 20-inch wheels and tires, I think this does favor the off-road side of things. We have a body on frame with a solid axle out back. We have all the electronic gizmos to help us control that driveline for when things get tricky off-road. This new Land Cruiser is a pretty complete package. The only thing that's missing for me is that kind of special thing that every other Land Cruiser I've ever driven has. They make me want to get out and go places near and far, have an adventure. I just don't know if this one makes me want to do that. I have every confidence that it would, It just doesn't inspire me to get out there and find new places. They do offer that 1958 trim that is kind of more of a throwback. It's a little bit more of a truck of a vehicle. It has a little more truckiness to it. Not quite as refined, has the cool looking front end on it, and I think that's a good place to start. I'd also like to see a smaller wheel, a little bit more aggressive looking wheel, maybe something from TRD, and an all-terrain tire. I think that would help inspire me to get out and use this thing, as I know it can do. There's also the issue that Lexus makes the GX, based on the same platform as the Land Cruiser here, and that GX does feel just a little bit special as compared to the Land Cruiser. We get a V6 that produces a little bit more power, and it is more refined both in terms of interior fit and finish and quality, along with its ride. The 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser is a big departure from all the past generations, but that's not a bad thing. Just know that it is different if you owned and loved one of those. We're really excited about this one. We can't wait to see how it performs both on and off-road. We're about to put it through 50 individual tests, as we always do, things like cargo capacity, fuel economy, acceleration, and braking. We're going to bring you all those results here shortly. For more on the Toyota Land Cruiser and other SUVs, check out consumerreports.org.